because we've got to check with you. Could the link's created if you want to share it out, see how many we're getting. We have time.
Give me 2 secs.
Well, if I must.
You're ever so generous, you, sir.
I do try. I do try.
Hello there, everybody. Welcome to Shoot Some Shale, powered by D&D Media, as we're doing a little watch along tonight to a highly anticipated championship clash between the Poole Pirates and the Glasgow Tigers. And as always, I'm joined with Mr. Dill. How are we doing this evening? Already 3-0 up over Polestar.
Yeah, not too bad much. It's cooled down, so we're alive. We've survived another hot spell, which for fat people and ginger people is always a start.
We're not made for this weather, are we?
We're definitely not made for this weather or exercise.
Absolutely not. We're made for extra fries.
Yep, extra fries at a nice cold day.
Yes.
Should we have a look at the two teams?
Oh, go on then.
If you want to do the Ouija's, I'll do the Pirates of Poole.
Yeah, that sounds alright.
You can keep
So for the ever so kind Joe.
Jed's first.
Almost as kind as Father Christmas.
Well,
so for the Glasgow Tigers, managed by Fat Nobbin, I mean Cammy Brown. Sorry to Cammy if you heard that. Chris Harris rides at 1. Bob rides at 2. Dan Thompson at 3. Joe Thompson at 4. Kyle Howarth at number 5, Freddie Odder at 6, Max Perry at number 7. Have you got a man to watch?
Dan Thompson, he's been going really well for the Tigers before his injury. He isn't quite at that level since he's come back, but I think this is a track, he can gate, he can go well, and in that middle order as well, I think he'll be solid enough. Really interesting actually that Joe's guesting, especially if the rumours over the winter were true that Glasgow initially lined up both of the Thompson twins to be in the team this year. Well, now they both are for tonight.
Yeah, 100%. I wonder where Dan's bikes are, because they're not in the number 3 position in them pits. So my man to watch tonight, I've gone for Kyle Howarth. He's having the best season of his career so far, and he likes Poole. He's ridden Poole very well, and if Glasgow were to get any form of success this evening, he's going to play a massive factor in it.
Am I right in saying Carlo F's raced for Poole in the past?
Correct.
Yeah, I thought he had.
A
And
million years ago.
yeah, it's been a while, and it. They said on BSN just before we started that there's 4 Poole riders who have raced for Glasgow and 5 Glasgow riders who have raced for Poole at some point in their career.
Madness, innit?
That is interesting. For the Pirates, managed by Neil Middleditch, and sometimes when he can't be asked to travel, Mr. Gary Havelock. Number 1, Richard Lawson. Tobias Thompson, cult hero of us at D&D Media at 2. Louis Kerr at 3. Zach Cook at 4. Anders Rowe at 5. Paul Stark at 6. And officially making his championship debut tonight, now he's turned 16, William Cairns rides at number 7. Palmer, your pirate to watch.
Give me a moment, because I've forgotten.
It's number 3.
Louis Kerr, yeah, he's starting to find a little bit of form now in the Premiership, and hopefully he can convert that into the Championship. But that's the only reason I've really got.
I've gone for Tobias Thompson. With all due respect to Bob, I think Tobias Thompson, especially at home, is a solid rider, and I just think he's scoring really well at Poole in particular. But he looks fired up on the whole this year, to be honest, and the points are reflecting that as well.
Does someone want to go tell Willie Cairns that's the flag, not a golf stick?
I am intrigued to see how Will Cairns gets on. With all due respect to the Glasgow reserves, there are more difficult opponents that he could have faced. I don't think he'll be too disappointed in the opposition tonight that he's against for his debut at championship level.
Oh no, and he's 2 opposite numbers of the riders that he's been racing against for years anyway, innit? So
Yeah.
it's not like the brand new riders to him. Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting evening.
Poole have, in particular, the fans have gave Darryl Richings a lot of love as well when he was racing for him. Did a job while he was there. Really unlucky to get injured in his last meeting for him as well. But I think me and you've both said he won't be out of a job at championship level for too long.
It isn't going to be long, is it, before somebody snaps him up?
No. And he should be as well. There are better riders that have got jobs in this league at the moment.
Paul Stark. Did that just come out loud? Sorry.
Now stick off there. I do think Poole have got a, if Starkey doesn't deliver, I think Poole wouldn't hesitate in bringing Darryl back.
100%.
And we've seen him flying at National League level. He was fantastic for Oxford over the weekend in their 2 meetings against Leicester.
It's criminal he's at reserve for Oxford.
It's madness, isn't it?
Criminal.
But he's come back to Speedway, and he's got the hunger that we've seen before he retired. Because he had a hell of a lot of potential before he took a step back, and he's come back, and he looks like he ain't really missed a beat.
100%.
Looks very nice down on the old south coast. Very sunny.
It looks. I've been reliably informed by a lovely lady that it's quite warm down there.
And that don't happen at Poole very often.
It's meant to be like 29 degrees.
Blimey.
What doesn't happen very often? Nice days at Poole, or me talking to women? Or both?
We've got a commenter, Bobby H. Hello, lads.
Good evening, Bobby H. Hope you're doing alright, me old pal. Ben Cook still...
he's also said, I would imagine it will be another cracker from Poole Stadium. Could be, track looks good.
I think I was saying this to... I was saying this to you last night. Since Poole's dropped sort of down to the championship, I've really enjoyed watching meetings from there.
Yeah, the track, they've brought some of the Wolf shale, But the difference is other clubs have brought that shale and it's not blended well with Poole. It's fit like a glove,
Mm.
and it's working really well. Carry on with your point about Ben Cook.
He was been loitering again in the Poole pits. Is this a sign of things to come if a certain heat leader doesn't perform?
Would that be your man to watch tonight by any chance?
Might be.
No comment and all that.
I try to remain as professional as possible in these streams.
Did you say that with a straight face?
No.
Thought not. It's good to see Ben Cook's alright. He obviously had to pull out for Kings Lynn at Birmingham on Monday due to a bumpy track. He's scheduled to ride for Kings Lynn at Leicester tomorrow though. And William Cairns debuts in the Championship tonight, debuts in the Premiership tomorrow. That's Scott in it,
It
boys.
does. It certainly looks
Yeah,
like
it is. Yeah, it is.
Maybe he's just gone to ask them what it's like to ride for Glasgow if he comes back for a job because of a space at Oxford.
Yeah. Cammy tried to offer him a pull over top. Cammy Brown doesn't do funny things very often. That was one.
Nobody wants to ride for the wages. Just one of them, isn't it?
We got 10 people watching.
Already?
Hmm.
Is Dave still back on?
No.
Poor Dave.
But yeah, William Cairns debuts at Premiership level as the guest rising star for Sheffield tomorrow.
That's what I was meant to ask you.
Is it a little bit too much too soon?
There's no harm in giving him a go.
Hmm.
Because he's going to be in a position like Nathan where if you score anything, it's a bonus.
Well, is he though? Because there's a hell of a lot of expectation on his shoulders. Any meeting he goes into, there's that expectation there.
Yeah, there is. But yes, it's one of them. I don't think he's the sort of character that lets the hype get to him.
Although, what we've heard on the stream before we came on, he is feeling nervous tonight because of all the eyes on him. Bobby H says, do you think Brady Kurtz will be in the UK next year? No.
No.
I don't think the UK speedway scene will look like we've come to know next year. I think it'll be a big crossroads at this year's AGM for the UK speedway, and I think it'll go down a route that a lot of people have been asking for years.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be a very, very interesting winter, that's for sure.
Heaven forbid the promoters have got to go to their AGM in Tenerife and actually work.
You mean to say they can't just go and get pissed?
No, absolutely not.
What's the bloody point?
Shocking, isn't it? And Will Cairns turned 16 last week, has now officially joined Zilona Gora's under-24 team. I think he's riding for Massana in the Swedish League as part of their squad. He's riding for the Leicester Fox Cubs in the National Trophy. The
Bellevue
Colts in the National Development League. And now Poole in the Championship. That's, 3 extra clubs he's taken on very, very quickly.
Tiger Woods, eat your heart out.
Bobby's also asked if we think Bewley will be a... no. No Grand Prix racing. Your number ones are going to be the likes of Ryan Douglas, Sam Masters, Richard Lawson, Eric Riss, people like that.
If you're really, really, really lucky, you may get the lower end GP riders. If they know they're not going to be in the GPs next year, it's a possibility. But if the rumours are true, then next year could be massive for British Speedway. And If you ask me, this is something that should have been done in lockdown.
It's, yeah, when we came out of that mess that was lockdown, we tried to almost pick up where we'd left off, and that was as good a chance as any for a hard reset, and it
Mm.
wasn't done. And we've kind of gone backwards. We've both said numerous times now that crowds and stuff at British Speedway tracks all over the country this year just haven't been what you'd expect, and particularly at Premiership level. So I think the Premiership is gonna go.
Yeah, basically, and I think as well, and I've said this to you many, many times. Speed to the working class man that I like to consider myself as. Speedway is quite an expensive night out.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as expensive as other sports. I mean, Scunthorpe United down the road charge £35 a ticket. But, if you've got a family of four, let's say, and let's say your kids are £5 to get in each, and then you've got you and your
Programs as
partner,
well, drinks, food.
that's £50 just in admission. And you program it, I don't know, £4. Something to eat for the whole family, that's £20. You're looking at the best part of £100.
Yeah.
Dan Winchester tuned in as per usual. Well, thanks for joining us.
Stop messaging me now. He messages you instead.
Your Shoot Some Shale gold card is on its way to you via pigeon mail.
Bobby says Bewley is Bellevue through and through. We both know that if a certain club were to run next year and they offered Bewley a job, he'd go there, and it's not Bellevue.
Is it that club he nearly signed for this year?
The club, Premier, no, the one that he's always out doing practice days.
Oh, the one a bit closer to his house.
Yeah, the one a bit closer to home. But I don't think we'll see GP superstars, which then puts the question: where do the Aussies go? Because obviously, to race in England, to live in England, unless they're recognised as British nationals at that point, with their visa and stuff, and they've got the proper paperwork to class as a British citizen, they can't live in the country if they don't race here.
I mean, I can almost guarantee where one Aussie will be next year. Jake Allen, Scunthorpe. It's written on the wall. He's never leaving.
Unless he goes back to Redcar.
Don't you be threatening me with a good time. Love you, Jake, if you're listening.
We've got 16 people watching. They might not race again. They'll be back. They'll be back this season. Just a little bit of red tape that someone's tried to pull the wool over some people's eyes, and someone snitched. They'll be back.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Wilkinson will be back at some point.
Yeah, they'll be back in no time. And,
I hope so, because it's a cracking little setup up there.
I hope so as well, because I haven't been down there yet. I know you say that it's a bit nippy down there.
It's Workington's very weird. It's an arena of two climates. If you go in the hot climate, it's really hot, and if you go in the cold climate, it's really cold.
There's no in between.
It can't just be like lukewarm all the way round. No, it has to be boiling hot one end, freezing cold the other.
Unlike Scunthorpe, where it's boiling hot everywhere except the track where it's bloody freezing.
Oh, in this bloody 33, 34, 35 degree heat, I should have just gone down the track, because you could have guaranteed it would have been about -3.
Well, we've got a second. The gates. Poole won the toss and chose 1 and 3 in heat 1.
That they did.
And tonight's referee, Palmer.
If I speak, I get into trouble.
Christina Turnbull.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, don't get yourself cancelled. We got watch-alongs on Friday and Saturday to do.
Yes,
Although,
we have.
not the planned watch-along that we were going to do on Friday now, because of Redcar and Workington being cancelled because of the red tape issue with Workington. So we'll be doing the BSN fixture between Glasgow and Oxford.
That we are. Yeah.
Decent looking crowd.
Poole always get decent crowds.
They do now. Since they've dropped down. They didn't so much in the top league. Everyone says they're too good for this league, but financially, if this league works for them, you ain't going to break your financial structure for anything, are you?
It's the Tobias Thompson effect. He brings the crowd in.
He's an entertainer and he's fantastic.
Oh, he's great.
We've got riders coming out.
That we have.
And Poole lead by 4 points in the quest for the aggregate point as well. So Scott Nicholls back in 2026. I don't know your thoughts on this one, but I personally think he may quietly retire now.
I've got the same sort of gut feeling, to be honest. He's had a hell of a career, but he seems to be, especially in the past couple of years, a better TV pundit than rider.
And he is very good at the punditry stuff as well.
He's not as good as us.
So number 1, gate 1 in blue for the Pirates, Tobias Thompson. Gate 2 in yellow, the guest for the evening, Daniel Hume. Gate 3 in red is Richard Lawson. And off the outside in white is Chris Harris, who did have a good moan at Birmingham on Monday, it's got to be said. Seems to be
Chris Harris loves
seems
the
to be a
moan.
thing this year, doesn't it? He's turning into a bit of an old grump.
Well, all the spotlight's gone off him and gone on to his child.
You got to put.
And I think Christopher's getting a little bit jealous now, so he maybe he has to make these invalid points.
I'll read Bobby's comment after this race.
So the tapes fly for Heat 1, and Daniel Hume had a little bit of a nibble there, but he still got to the first turn second as Richard Lawson's out, but the red flags are on.
Bomber had a nibble as well. Bomber nearly sucked Lawson through. Bombers was big as well. Be interesting to see which way the warnings go. Didn't see Daniel Hume's, did see Bombers though.
Daniel Hume just made a good gate.
Yeah, he did.
No, he just made a perfect start. Bomber's mechanic looks like he's never seen Weight Watchers.
Did he, or was that Clint? Nah, Clint did it on the on social media, but Chris Harris was doing it in the pits. Scott Nicholls still a very good second league rider. He's still a very good top league rider. The issue is we're 6 months post surgery now, and he's still suffering or struggling to move as he'd like to be moving after the surgery.
Yeah, for sure. He was a great rider back in the day, but when something like that happens, you sort of just got to think, he's making decent money on TV, so. And
unlike Speedway, the TV, the TV offers more job security. The punditry side of things offers. People get sacked willy-nilly these days.
I mean, look how many years we've had to put up with Kelvin Tatum.
Yeah, you've got a point.
When you've got two fine young stallions like us and they use Kelvin Tatum.
Don't blame Bomber. Track at Birmingham is dreadful. Bomber's just a whiny little bitch though as well. If the track's not set up for him, he moans. Kings Lynn was set up the way Bomber wanted it a couple of weeks ago. And Birmingham was set up the way that Birmingham wanted it on Monday, just because there was no outside line for Bomber to use. That's nobody's issue. They're not going to set up a track for him to ride well. Same 4 riders, same 4 gates. Warnings to Chris Harris and Richard Lawson.
So we might get 8-1 done this side of Christmas if we're really, really lucky.
Ooh,
Start Marshall walks away, then takes right away. We go to fairly even start there, and it's Daniel Hume that gets to the first bend first, but coming out of the first bend, Richard Lawson has a lead, and now Tobias Thompson tries to squeeze himself underneath Daniel Hume there, does it, and Chris Harris has got himself roundly outside into second. What could Tobias Thompson do now as Thompson looks to come up the inside of Harris? Harris blocks the run comfortably now. Now Tobias needs to really think about using the outside run just to get around Chris Harris. Richard Lawson's away and gone. He can go get himself a hot dog. He's checked out and gone. But as we come round the third lap, it's currently still the Pirates in a 4-2 situation with Richard Lawson leading. Chris Harris looks almost settled there in the second place position. Tobias Thompson, though, he's still chasing down Harris. One mistake from Chris Harris and Toby will be through. Daniel Newman's basically back in Swindon at the minute, but we're in the final lap now and Richard Lawson's like halfway down the back straight. Even if Richard Lawson shut off now like he normally would, he'd have won it anyway. Just like that, he has done.
Instead. And that was all done from the start, really. Tobias Thompson, really smart cutback on the first turn. Thought he was going to get under both of them. Got under Hume, but Chris Harris blocked the line well. And then Toby just settled in for third. But Richard Lawson, the start of the season, was struggling to win Heat 1s. There's no such issues now. And
no, since then he's had an issue called Scunthorpe at home, and that rejuvenated his...
The result of Heat 1 was a win for the rider in red. Richard Lawson, second in white, Chris Harris, and third in blue, Tobias Thompson. 4-2 to Poole, makes the aggregate score 51 points to 45. Really good start from both the riders off the outside two gates, and Bob was there initially as well. Tobias was miles behind there, and then used that inside well. Hume did move over, he thought he was getting clouted.
Yeah, Bob just kind of got himself in no man's land, really, didn't he? And that was his
going
race
to get
done.
him there. Tobias did have a run on Bomber, but he shut the door well. And there's no maximum for Bomber tonight.
That's a shame.
And to be fair, Richard Lawson looked quick then as well. We obviously have to listen on, watch on mute. We can't have the
Richard
audio.
Lawson went round in 60.857 seconds.
Did they put that on the result thing?
Yeah.
Oh, I do love that addition. William Cairns, first race for Poole off gate 4. Don't get much more difficult, does it? Line up of Heat 2, going off gate 1 in white. Freddie Hodder, gate 2 in red, Paul Stark. Gate 3 in yellow is Max Perry. And off the outside in blue is William Cairns.
And talking of, not exactly William Cairns relevant, and this is something we can discuss in the first tractor grade after Heat 4.
Oh, okay, I do love a discussion.
It's a big discussion.
Oh.
I'll save it till then because it's something that
might take us the entire track grade to figure it out.
It's certainly something that's it's vexed us both over the past couple of days.
Vexed over the couple of... I've got to pick one thing that's vexed me. Crikey.
Let's put it this way, it's an issue that's happened at a track not a million miles from Poole. So, heat number 2, the boys just getting themselves into order. The tapes fly away. We go for heat number 2, and it's a very good start there. Oh, Will Cairns. Will Cairns is already there. What a boy. And Paul Stark's there in second place with Freddie Hodder there in the third place position. Max Perry's at the back. And this is an absolute dream debut here for Will Cairns, who's gated and he's just gone. He's checked out. He could go get himself an hot dog and he'd still win this. But yeah, a perfect start from Will Cairns there. Got to a first man first, and that's all she wrote. And if anything now, Will's extending his lead over Paul Stark, who's extending his lead over Freddie Hodder. So this is going to be a massive 5-1 to Poole and Glasgow, already being tactical territory come Heat 3. We've got one lap left to go. Will Cairns is going to just be open. This bike just keeps it going for the next half a lap, and his first competitive race in Championship Speedway, and he's going to get his first 3 points on the board in Championship Speedway as well, and he looks a bit happy about that.
He looks really buzzy with that, doesn't he? And to be fair, having watched that, you'd have been forgiven for thinking he was the more experienced rider. Coming out of bend 3 and out of bend 4, he was looking over his shoulder to see where Starkey was. That was an experienced rider for such an inexperienced rider at this level.
He's taken a very, very well-deserved round of applause from the Poole faithful there. Fair play to him.
It's good to
That
see him
was
back from his injury as well. Obviously, took up an awkward knock at Bellevue a few weeks back. Had to pull out for the Leicester Fox Cubs at Kings Lynn last week. Heat number 2 was won by the rider in blue, William Cairns, with a winning time of 61.93. Second in red, Paul Stark, and third in white, Freddie Hodder. 5-1 to Poole, 9 points to 3 on the night, and the aggregate score is, I'll tell you when it comes on the screen, 56-46. Brilliant start from Cairns.
it was perfect, wasn't it?
And he stuck it straight out wide. He trusted Starkey to cover the inside, and he just went straight round. See if you can see him. Have a look back. I think he takes it in 4. Has a look back there to see where Starkey is. That's an experienced ride from such an inexperienced rider at this level of speedway.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Now, I know what your topic's going to be on the track grade, and it's almost going to play into what I'm going to say next. Glasgow aren't going to win anything with this reserve pairing.
No, they're not.
They're not going to win a thing with these two reserves. They're okay at home, but they never seem to get it right at home at the same time. But away from home, they're awful as a pairing. Heat 3, gate 1 in blue is Zach Cook. Gate 2 in white is my man to watch for Glasgow, Dan Thompson. Gate 3 in red is your man to watch for Poole, Louis Kerr. And off the outside in yellow is Joe Thompson. The Thompson twins versus Zach Cook and Louis Kerr.
Message in the group chat. Heat 4 will be the teller for Cairns because there's not much to bloat about. He only really beat the Harbour Masters champion. The up-and-coming star of 37 years old, or however old he is.
That young whippersnapper, Mr. Stark.
That's the one.
He looked right at home there as well. To be fair, between William Cairns and Cooper Russian, the long-term future of British Speedway on the world stage should be in safe hands, and there's riders like Jamie Effrington as well coming through.
Jamie produced a ride of the night at Redcar last weekend to give Cooper his first defeat. And takes rides anyway now for heat number 3. It's the Poole boys that have got there again, although I was definitely thinking there was going to be carnage there, but it's Louis Kerr, or Louis Wanners, known to his pals, that's there out in front. Zach Cook's there in second, Joe Thompson in third, and Dan Thompson still struggling at the back of the field. And Dan was struggling for Ipswich at Bellevue on Monday, and at the way this is going at the minute, Dan's just wanting to race his brother so he can get 20 pence pocket money from his dad. But yeah, Lewis Kerr's away, he's gone, he's checked out, and Zach Cook's not a million miles behind him. And then you've got like a load of track, and then you've got the Glasgow boys, or the Thompson boys, whichever one you want to call them for this one, as we've got one lap left to go. And these two were Poole boys. After the second bend of that one, they've just ridden a perfect race, and they're going to re-extend that lead.
Brilliant start from the Poole boys. Dan Thompson was the meat in a Poole sandwich there. They both pincered him, and he had nowhere to go, and coming back from an injury, the last thing you want is to clout into two riders and find yourself out of action again. The outside gates are working fantastically well at the moment. The inside not so much, but yeah, it was a good ride from the Poole pair, and they're fired up for this. Kevin Barnes, Cooper Russian, another sensation. I really like his style. He reminds me so much of Bartosz Marslik with his riding style. Heat 4 was a win for the rider in red, Lewis Kerr, with a winning time of 61.45. Second in blue, Zach Cook, and third in yellow, Joe Thompson. Another 5-1 to Poole makes a progressive score 14 points to 4, and on the aggregate it's 61-47. Yeah, Dan Thompson Zach was coming out, Louis was coming in, Dan had to shut off, otherwise he was going straight over the handlebars.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, it's a big...
Ooh, that was close.
Ooh. It's a big weekend as well for Dan Thompson and and Jake Mulford as well with
GP2, isn't it?
GP2 on Friday.
Be
Yeah,
interested to see who Glasgow get in as a guest for that, if they get one.
they've got Lassie Fredrickson.
I thought that was Oxford that had him for Mitch
Was
McDermott.
it? Or was it Oxford? I don't bloody know.
I think Oxford have got him for Mitch McDermott.
I'm gonna have a look. To be honest with you, I forgot Mitch McDermott rides in SGP2. It's very easily forgettable.
Here's the telling race for William Cairns now. We've got Carl Howarth off the favoured gate 4. Will goes from gate 4 in heat 2 to gate 1 in heat 4. And the full lineup of heat 4 going off gate 1 in blue, William Cairns. Gate 2 in yellow is Max Perry. Gate 3 in red, Anders Rowe. And off the outside in white, Kyle Howarth. Glasgow need Carl Howarth to just take the flag here. They need a race winner just to sort of settle the nerves a little bit. They've had a really slow start to this meeting.
Oh, they've certainly struggled a little bit, haven't they?
And I don't know if you've seen it yet. Cooper Russian's released merch. It's very nice.
It looks very nice, doesn't it?
Very nice.
I would buy some, but I wouldn't want to anger our clients.
I'm buying some at some point, just not right before the holiday. But this will be the test for Cooper. Whoever put that in the chat, you are right.
Start mashing walks away for race number 4. The tapes rise. Away we go.
He's away again.
Will's only gone and made it again, and he's got back up this time with Anders Rowe and Kyle Howarth now getting past Will Cairns. What can Cairnsy do? Max Perry's somewhere at the back, somewhere near Swindon. Oh, he's still with us. That's nice. Yeah, Anders Rowe is out there. He's checked out. He's gone, and William Cairns is now just trying to put the fight to Kyle Howarth, but Kyle looks very, very settled there in the second place position at the moment. And Will Cairns looks very, very settled in third. To be honest, it's a little bit drawn out, this run in heat number 4 here at Poole. But yeah, Anders showing his employers of last year what they're missing out on, as we've got 1 lap left to go. I don't quite know where Max Perry's gone, but the race hasn't been stopped, so he must still be on his bicycle. As they come round to check the checkered flag.
There he is.
There he is. He's
Good,
still with us.
Good game from both the Poole boys. Kyle Howarth screwed it on around the outside of Will Cairns. Just found that little bit of grip a touch wider to get round him. But it was a really good game from Cairns off gate 1 and gave Kyle something to think about, which in turn also allowed Anders to pull away. But Anders looked rapid anyway, to be honest.
100%.
The result of heat 4, another heat advantage to Poole with a win for the rider in red, Anders Rowe, winning time 60.52, second in white Carl Howarth, and third in blue William Cairns, 4-2 to Poole, 18 points to 6 after 4 races with an aggregate score of 65.49. Max Perry, I thought Max Perry was coming down in this first. Anders Rowe gave Carl Howarth the old heave-ho.
You probably won't be surprised to know that was the fastest time of the night so far.
Yeah, it did look quick, didn't it?
And right, they're track grading. That means it's discussion time.
Are you going to be talking about that other team down south and their reserve change?
But just give me a second, because I'm going to sit up for this.
Oh God, here we go.
So, as you've probably seen in the Speedway world over the past week, British rider Ben Trigger has been sacked from his own hometown club. Now, Poland do this perfectly in nurturing their own talent, and they don't really sack their own homegrown talent unless they really need to. Plymouth have a much more underperforming reserve from Australia, which begs the question now, should British Speedway look at giving at least one British youngster a protected team spot for the season? So as an example, Scunny's got Luke Harrison, should that team spot be protected for the season, and he only gets replaced if he has a very bad season-ending injury?
Or he's out for an extended period of time. Yeah, it's
Mm.
like the old British, whatever it was, British up and coming rider thing, like the Rising Star, but the British draft thing they used to do in the Elite League as it was then, where both your reserves had to be British riders.
Mm.
Because now Plymouth have got, Daniel Klima and Mitchell Clough at reserve, which has a lot of potential on paper, but Mitchell Clough's average has dropped from 5 to 3 in the first part of the season, and Daniel Klima's going to take half a season to get up to any kind of pace. So they've now got a reserve pairing with a lot of potential, but with about a third of a season worth of British track experience. And that suddenly piles the pressure onto their top 5 again.
Exactly, and it also begs the question here. As somebody said this to me the other day, and I kind of agreed with it. Is the Rising Star program in the wrong league?
They had it in the Championship, didn't they? They had it in both, and then the Championship decided to get rid of it after 1 year. It was in the Premiership and the Championship, but the first season it came in.
Was it in the Championship the year we had Jordan Palin at Scunny, and he was an absolute sensation?
That sounds about right, yeah. It did start in both leagues, and the Championship got rid of it after 1 season, and the Premiership have persisted with it.
It's certainly something that should have stayed in the Championship.
It should have, yeah. There's no job security. We talk about this with Scotty Nichols and TV punditry. We've seen a lot of young riders, Carl Bickley, now Sonny Springer. This may be not because of opportunities. This is maybe more falling out of love with the sport. But you get to a level at National League, it seems to be, and that's it. British promoters aren't interested. They'll rather look overseas and bring in a bigger name in the hope it'll bring in more fans. But that's not always the case.
It isn't. And, if we're meant to develop riders that are going to be in the GPs in years to come, who's going to be in SGP2, how are they meant to improve if they're not getting the team spots?
That's it, yeah. You're not going to improve by... I'm in a group chat with a couple of the boys from STS, and they were talking about William Cairns and what league would he drop, considering he's taken on a lot. And the National Trophy team was one that was predicted to be dropped. And somebody said, he's not going to learn by racing a load of wobblers every week that can't complete 4 laps without falling off. And to got a point, you need to learn somewhere, but you also need to, there are riders that race at National League level. Ben Morley, for example, experience now, should be in the Championship, but he's not. So he's stuck at that National League level, but you're not going to improve, and you're not going to push yourself even more if you're a big fish in a small pond.
Let's be honest, nowadays the National League's just become a league where you're either just starting out and trying to develop, or you're just riding for a bit of fun.
Yeah, that's it, yeah. And we're on with Heat 5.
That was a nice bit of filler.
It was, weren't it? Gate 1 in yellow is Daniel Hume. Gate 2 in red, Lewis Kerr. Gate 3 in white, Chris Harris, carrying his warning from Heat 1. And off the outside in blue is Zach Cook. Gates 3 and 4 are the favoured gates so far. Gate 3 has won 3 races. Gate 4 has won 1. Couple of paid wins from Gate 1 and a paid win from Gate 2. But the actual race wins have all come from the outside 2 gates.
That it has. So the Star Masters walks away then for heat number 5. Tapes rise, away we go. And once again, it is Lewis Kerr that gets there. Chris Harris blasted himself around the outside there. Now Chris Harris has got the lead, and he's already pulled an advantage over Lewis Kerr there in the second place position, with Zach Cook there in third. Daniel Hume's back in Swindon, or at least it looks that way. And again, this race looks pretty settled now, to be honest. Chris Harris is out there in front doing Chris Harris things. Lewis Kerr just locks up a little bit there in second, but Zach Cook not quite close enough to do anything about it. And Chris Harris is finally going to take Glasgow's first heat winner of the day, barring any form of mechanical failures or slide-offs or anything silly like that, which may happen to Christopher in the next lap. Who knows, as we've got half a lap left to go. Now what's going to happen to Chris Harris? I know he's a bit chubby, but even he could get off the bike and run and he'd still win it at this point, as he takes Glasgow's first checkered flag.
It's took them to the 1/3 point of the meeting, but they finally got a heat winner.
It took the time.
To be fair, though, it doesn't really do them any favours with Danny and Hume at the back. They've steadied the ship as far as heat wins go, but the Pirates still keep a 12-point lead. Heat 5 was won by the rider in white, Chris Harris, in a time of 61.29, second in red, Lewis Kurt, and third in blue, Zach Cook. Points divided 3 apiece, 21 points to 9, the progressive score on the night. And the aggregate score is 68-52. That fella we know's in the comments, old Alan McNally. Christ, why did we sign a number 2 who won't turn up because he's riding in bloody Denmark? Don't you worry, Al. He only rides in Denmark on a Wednesday. You know, being as you ride on a Friday, he'll only miss trips to Poole and Oxford.
Exactly.
He'll be back for Friday for you. Unless he's in GP2, and then he won't be.
I'm just going to check the GP2 line up now, just in case. Is Alan thinking bring back Ashton Bowden yet? Riders. Who am I looking for? Village Nigel.
While you check that, line up for Heat 6 at the tapes. Gate 1 in red is Richard Lawson, also on a warning from Heat 1. Gate 2 in white, Carl Howarth. Gate 3 in blue, Tobias Thompson. And off the outside in yellow, Freddie Hodder.
Well, Al, you'll be glad to know Village Nigel is not in SGP2.
That's when we bloody need him against this level of opposition. To be fair, Al, you need him against every level of opposition.
But Al,
he's Danish, he's a Danish international, his home country gets priority.
But Al, Village Nigel will ride for you on Friday because he's not in SGP2. Dan Thompson is in SGP2, so he won't be riding for you Friday.
Question from Bobby, I'll put it to you in a minute. I know your thoughts already, being as you work for his dad.
Oh, God. This is a question about Lucas, isn't it?
It is a question about Lucas. Alan, hashtag sack Cammy Brown. Dear, oh dear, oh dear.
But how would Weight Watchers get their weekly allowance?
Us.
The tapes rides for heat number 6, and it's Kyle Howarth.
No way,
It's Kyle Howarth that's got there, and Freddie Hodder's there with him. And Richard Lawson's there now. He's trying to get himself up the inside there of Freddie Hodder, and just like that. Yeah, he's done him there just like that. Solid rider. Oh! Carnage! I believe that's Freddie Hodder anyway. I don't think it was a tactical thing. And the red lights are out, and Richard Lawson could be in trouble here.
For me, there's no contact there. He comes up hard on the inside, but for me, Freddie Hodder's just shit the bed and threw it down. I don't think Richard Lawson's done a lot wrong there. It's hard, but he's left room. He's sent him wide, but he's not bombed straight into him. Let's see it again. Nah, I don't think Richard Lawson's done anything wrong there.
This is the angle we need.
No contact there at all. Nowhere near him. Freddie Hodder's threw it down just so he's not stuck right out in the deep stuff. It's a hard move from Lawson, but I don't think he takes him off. And Christina Turnbull's got a decision to make here.
I'm saying nothing.
Alan, remember the Trunchbull is ref. It will be interesting to see which way this goes, but for me, Freddie Hodder goes for that.
Well,
quickly, while we've got a moment.
With the ref we've got in question, Tobias Thompson goes for that.
There's no contact. And he's looking for it, he puts his leg out and Lawson still doesn't touch him. Nah, there's nothing wrong with that in my opinion. The
Anyway,
question from Bobby.
question about Lucas.
Gents, thoughts on Luke Harrison so far this season? Well, Palmer works for his dad, so he's got to say nice stuff.
His dad's an absolute prick.
He's a
now,
he's a genuinely really nice bloke, Andy
now,
Harrison.
and Andy and Luke, they're both genuinely decent people, and
Freddie, just a sec. Freddie's charging back in. Has he been disqualified? He looks fuming.
that or maybe he just wanted to go to use the toilet.
I think Freddie's been thrown out. He's gone charging back in the pits. I wouldn't be surprised. Shall I have a look on updates and see if anything's been put on there? Carry on
You have a
about
look on
Andy
there.
anyway.
But yeah, I mean, I've just had a
Hodder is excluded. Correct decision.
Sorry, I'm a little bit speechless. The Trunchbull doesn't make right decisions in this day and age.
Mr. Wheeler, evening, good sirs. Wheeler, you absolute legend.
Wheeler, you absolute penis. How we doing, sir?
I'll let you get back to your Luke Harrison story now.
But yeah, Andy's a good lad. Luke's a good lad. He'll listen to any advice that he gets, and he's just a level-headed kid. And I know this pains you a little bit because it happened at Birmingham, but it was nice to see, or good to see, Luke get his first Premiership heat win and have a very solid night at Premiership level.
To be fair, right, I've got a lot of time for Luke. He's a really good kid. I told you the story the other night when I was in the office at Brum, and he just walks in, grabs his bottle of water, and says to Lawrence, "I'm just grabbing my bottle of God's nutrients," and walks out with a grin on his face. And yeah, Luke's a good fella.
But yeah, to be fair, all the Harrison clan are the all very good people. His mum, his granddad, even his mechanic Ian, they surround themselves with good people and they're getting the good results that we almost knew they was going to get.
Yeah, so it was
when he
good
first started years ago.
It was good to see Luke winning a Heat 2 the other night that had Jankovic and Ben Barker in. Obviously Sam Hagan had been thrown out, but Luke made a gate and flew off and won it on merit, and he looked comfortable as well. On a really tricky track, he looked comfortable.
But then again, it's like he sort of said to me at work, he almost felt like he was riding at Scunny. But, you know, Luke's a good lad and he'll get there.
If anyone's watching the meeting in the comments, I don't know why you'd be listening to us if you're watching it, but what do you make of the decision? Right decision, wrong decision? I mean, I think it's the correct decision. I don't know what you think about it, Mush.
Some people just like to hear some fine young stallions talking about a meeting rather than rather than Dave Rowe and Greg Blair, which, to be fair, I can understand that because Greg Blair's a bit crap.
The rerun of Heat 6, Richard Lawson Gate 1, Carl Herf Gate 2, Tobias Thompson Gate 3, and Freddie Hodder disqualified, so no rider off Gate 4. Well, 1 or 2, unless Tobias wins off Gate 3, is going to get a winner here.
That it is.
Got a really interesting comment to read out after this one from Alan Begg.
Alan Begg.
I'll read it after this one because it opens up an entire new conversation.
Oh, the tapes rise and now form race number 6. Richard Lawson's got there and Kyle Howarth has no answer to Richard Lawson. Howarth now looking to come up the inside of Lawson and not quite neck and neck. Lawson still got it. Tobias Thompson's there in third. And Tobias isn't a million miles off Kyle Howarth, to be honest, but the outside line definitely seems to be working here, and Kyle just keeps persisting with curb crawling at the minute, and he's going to get absolutely nowhere with this. Richard Lawson's just holding the right line. He's there. He's almost doing a dive bomb as he's coming off the outside of turn 4 to the inside of turn 1, but he's doing a great job there of defending his leader with Kyle, and Tobias hasn't really got anybody to beat in this one, so he knows he's going to get at least 20p in his pay packet as we go on to the final lap now, and barring any form of mechanical failures or little slide offs, Richard Lawson's going to take his second heat win of the afternoon.
And the first heat win off gate 1. Tobias Thompson was a bit tailed off there, to be honest.
He was a bit, wasn't he?
And a good ride from Lawson to make up for such a bad start in the initial run in him, and Kyle got their level. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that pans out for the rest of the night. Richard Lawson stays unbeaten, and the aggregate score goes up again with another 4-2 to Poole. The result of heat number 6 was a win for the rider in red, Richard Lawson, in a winning time of 60.60. Second in white car, however, and third in blue, Tobias Thompson. 4-2 to Poole, 25 points to 11 the progressive score, and the aggregate score is 72 points to 54. Comment from Alan Begg. Rumours that 3 of the existing 7 Premiership clubs want to drop down. I'm relatively new to Speedway, only since the late 90s, so I've never experienced a big league. Yeah, most of the clubs do want to drop. Premiership's too expensive. Birmingham's closing entirely. There won't be a Birmingham next year. But I do think we're at the stage now where one big league is what's going to happen.
And I mean, we do need to go down to one big league. It's the only sensible option to do it. And then you've got the argument of we haven't got enough riders. So do you go down the Danish format of having 5-man teams? Do you look at doing how they do in France teams, with 4? You know, it's going to be a very interesting winter coming up, and it's going to be interesting to see how things develop.
And obviously, me and you are both involved with clubs at different levels of Speedway, so we hear things that maybe Joe Public don't always hear. But we can't really say too much on these. But
no,
I
and when you work
for the chairman as well.
When you work for the chairman, yeah.
Yeah, but I do think it's come to that point now that the water truck thinks it's a whale or something. Well, it's come to that point now that there is no option to run a Premiership League next season. The Birmingham are closing, that takes us down to 6. There are a couple that can't afford to stay at top league level. I think we see a championship standard 1 league format moving forward, and it's like you said to me the other day, it's that we need to take a step back to take 2 steps forward in the long run.
Yeah, 100%. And it's like I went up to Redcar on Saturday, and obviously they had the British Youth Championships, and they had a National Development League meeting against Leicester. Very, very good meetings, very entertaining meetings to watch. And to be fair, Redcar had a decent crowd in, but they only charged £10 to get in.
Yeah.
But it's meetings like that you just sit there, you watch, you enjoy it, and you think, we don't need GP riders over here to have a decent product. It's nice to have your big names. Like, I'm loving the fact we've got Yankovic over here. It's nice to see my idol over here. But, you know, it's like as well at Scunny. I mean, I know I'm probably a little bit biased here. Been a Scunny supporter, but 9 times out of 10, you go home from Scunny knowing that you've been entertained and you've seen a decent meeting.
That's it, yeah. It's like Redcar as well, more often than not, and Workington as well. Workington's a really, really good track.
And I hate to say this,
even Glasgow is a good track.
Even Glasgow's all right.
The Premiership, Nicola Clint buried Birmingham the other night, but reading between the lines of that, he does have a point. You've said this season already, but the crowds seem down. We've both watched a lot of Premiership Speedway this season with watch-alongs and stuff. The tracks don't seem as well prepared as perhaps you'd expect for the premium league of British Speedway. It feels like almost a half-arsed attempt this year.
It does. And you know, it's a shame, really. Because you know you can't expect you're paying punters to pay 25 quid, give or take a couple of quid, to go and watch a crap meeting on a craply prepared track.
That's it. Yeah.
You know, I mean, even with us in the championship at Scunny, our crowds have gone down massively. Admittedly, you know, we've got issues with our steelworks here and shift workers and the fact we're in a cost of living crisis. People just can't afford it. But, I mean, it's like I was saying to you last night. Again, it's a case of take a step back to take 2 steps forward.
That's it, yeah.
If you water your product down a little bit, so say, I don't know, let's have an example. As an example, we go down the route of the Danish way and we have 5 rider teams. 5 rider teams. Say Scunny had Ryan Douglas as the number 1. I don't know, Jake Allen. Who else can we have?
Connor Mountain, Luke Harrison.
Connor Mountain, Luke Harrison, and I don't know.
One of the Kennedy boys, for argument's sake.
Declan Kennedy, because he works with us.
Yeah, because he works for us. Or we work for him.
Yeah. Say you've got that 5 people there in your team. You've got 2 less wages to pay. So knock a couple of quid off your admission. I know it sounds stupid, but you know, you've got chances of more people turning up through your gates if it's only 15 quid to get in rather than 20. Or it's like I want to suggest to Rob, but nobody will listen to me.
I wonder why.
Right? I'm not saying this would work, but Scunthorpe United during their season they had one match where if you work for the emergency services or if you work for the steel workers, they got in for 10 quid, right? That game they had 7,500 people there. Now again, I'm not saying it would work for us, but you don't know if you don't try.
It's like what they're doing now isn't working, so why not? It's that old saying, innit? Throw shit at the wall and eventually it will stick. Try something different. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Back to the drawing board. But you'd rather try something and it not work than not try it and wonder if it would have.
Exactly. And to be fair as well, British Speedway's biggest problem is it's not promoted enough at all.
No, you will. And to be fair, where it is promoted is the wrong places. You know, you do your Premiership Media Day and you do a live stream on the British Speedway YouTube, which fans of Speedway are going to follow. Joe Public on YouTube algorithm ain't going to know what that is. They're not going to care.
No. And I mean, if anybody on here, for whatever reason, is on stuff for sale in Scunthorpe groups or, you know, nights out in Lincolnshire groups, you'll see every meeting in the week running up to that meeting. I'm bashing posts in there all the time. We're racing this Friday at the end, but nobody knows where it is because other than a big sign, well, not even a big sign really, it's only a little sign that says Speedway this Friday. It's not signposted anywhere, so no one's going to know where it is.
And to be fair, when you whack the address of Scuddy and a sat-nav, it takes you to the big industrial estate up the road. It's like, it's behind there, but it's a fair distance down the road from that, isn't it? But the sat-nav actually takes you to the industrial estate.
Yeah, it does. But it's not just a Scunny thing, though. It's It's a speedway thing in general. I mean, it's like when I went to Kings Lynn. I said to the taxi driver when I was going to the track, I like, could you take us to the speedway, please? She's like, where's that? And in a town like Kings Lynn, where speedway's been there forever, you know, it's like you'd have thought you'd know where it is.
Yeah, it is. It's one of them. It's not promoted right, and to be fair, you only hear about Speedway in mainstream media when it goes wrong. You heard about it when Darcy Ward crashed. You heard about it when Ty Wolfenden crashed. You don't hear about it for the good things that happen. You hear about it when it goes wrong and someone's season is ended or life is changed because of a crash.
I mean, let's take our minds back 12 months. Great Britain win the Speedway Nations and become world champions. Was there any sign of it in mainstream media?
Outside of Manchester, no.
No. And to be fair, admittedly, it was clashing with the Football World Cup, but that's not the point.
There's room in a news piece on a sport bulletin for both.
Exactly. And with the amount of space you've got on social media this day and age, one little Great Britain world champions, that's all you had to put, and people will click it and be like, oh, what's this?
But then Wolfie's crash over in Poland was on the news for days. Social media, everywhere you looked, there was a bit of British Speedway rider Ty Wolfenden, life-changing injuries, blah, blah, blah.
But, and again, I've said this to you many times, and this sounds horrible, and I hate saying this, but it's these crashes. Like, we need to sort of introduce a younger generation of supporters. Because let's be honest, in 5 years' time, half of British Speedway supporters are probably going to be dead and buried.
Including us if we keep eating.
Mate, I'm going in too. But in 5 years' time, yeah, half the British Speedway audience is going to be dead and buried. Where are the new fans going to come from to replace them? And unfortunately, the younger ones are bastards and they like watching big crashes.
Or fights, or a little bit of drama, yeah.
And again, I don't really like agreeing with him, but Ty Wolfenden made a point.
They should be encouraging them to do stuff like this, not fining them for it.
Exactly. I mean, it's like when I was at Redcar last week. I was the only one chanting, go on, Ace, go smack him one.
And that had nothing to do with the fact that we work for Ace Piper, honest.
Absolutely nothing. No, I just think Ace is a good lad.
But, yeah, to answer that question rather long-windedly, yeah, it probably will go to one big league and it just needs better promoting. I know the TV deal for the Premiership is up at the end of this season. I know Phil Morris is trying to negotiate another one. I don't think it'd be a bad thing if it was just one big league. A lesser product, yes, but more variety of tracks and hopefully a better schedule and different days. That's what the issue is with the Premiership. Monday and Thursdays, it's the working week. Scunny, Friday night. You know, Plymouth, Workington, Saturday meetings. Leicester used to be Saturdays. Their crowds were better when they were on a Saturday. The British final, you know, ran on a Saturday last year. Crowd was fantastic. Ran on a Monday this year. Crowd was shit.
Was 100%. And again, you mentioned the fixtures and the schedules, right? People get out of habits of going to stuff when they're not doing something continuously. Scunthorpe, yeah, when we get to our meeting on the 11th of July in a week, we won't have had a home meeting for 3 weeks.
A lot can change in 3 weeks.
Oh, exactly. I might have lost a stone.
You might have lost your job. You never know. Like, anything can happen. Especially this day and age where companies are closing left, right and centre. You can go from being employed to unemployed like that. You know, there's no...
Exactly.
Are we on heat 7? Did
Yes.
we have a track raid after 6? That's a bit of a strange one.
It's a bit weird, wasn't it?
Yeah, I wondered what was going on then. I was waiting for the riders for 8. Heat 7 then, back on with the action. We'll stop talking about everything smart now. Gate 1 in white, Dan Thompson. Gate 2 in red, Anders Rowe. Gate 3 in yellow, Joe Thompson. And off the outside in blue, Paul Stark. This pairing for Glasgow got 5-1 in their first heat. Anders Rowe won his first race and Paul Stark backed up William Cairns in heat 2, which seems like a long time ago now, about 50 minutes since that was. So it's been a long old wait for Starkey.
What Mandel had been to the bar, got himself a can of pop and a burger.
Has Paul Stark's helmet got red on, or has he put his blue helmet colour on over at the top of the red one? If it goes back to his helmet, there's definitely red under that blue helmet colour. And the only rider
BSN, you're giving us all the helmets but the one with ETC.
There's definitely red by his peak. I don't know if it's his helmet or not though.
Start Marshall about to walk away for race number 7. Tapes rider, away we go, and it's a good start there for Dan Thompson. And to be fair, Joe's there with him as well, and Anders third place position, but the Glasgow Tigers / Thompson twins are currently on a 5-1. Paul Stark's at the rear of the field. Now what can Anders Rowe do as Joe's gone wide and Anders Rowe through like a knife going through hot butter, and now Anders Rowe's got his eyes set on Dan Thompson, and Anders goes wide. Dan blocks him out nicely. Good move there from Dan Thompson to block the challenge of Anders Rowe. Now Anders looking to come up the inside there of Dan. Done it nicely. What a move from Anders Rowe. What can Dan Thompson do now? Can Dan repay the favour? The only problem for Dan is here. His curb crawling all race. As Anders, as we've seen in this race, he's been inside, he's been outside. I say that, and now Dan Billy Big Bollocks decides to go on the outside. It's not really worked out for him, right? But yeah, that was a very good move there from Anders Rowe a couple of laps ago. Dan Thompson's still trying to get round Anders and that, but it's just not worked out.
Brilliant ride from Anders Rowe there. Missed the start completely. Came up the inside of Joe Thompson on 1 and 2, drifted him out wide. Went in a bit hot into 3 and 4, cut it straight back, and not curb crawling as such, just did a smart cut back straight up the inside of Dan. Took him by surprise a little bit, I think, and then just stuck himself on the outside line to pull away. And that was a really smart ride from Anders.
If you want a fun fact, that was the first race Glasgow didn't get a last place.
Blimey. Result of heat 7 was a win for the rider in red. Anders Rowe, winning time 62.21, second in white Dan Thompson, and third in yellow Joe Thompson, with Paul Stark at the back. To be fair, I can't blame his last there. 50 minutes is such a long time. It's almost like you have to rewarm yourself up again, isn't it? You have to switch on again, and it's like starting the meeting from scratch.
It is.
And the track will have changed dramatically since heat 2. It's been prepared again, it's been watered, it's been, baked in the sun again. It's completely different to when he was last out.
Right, it is me old cherub.
He did a carbon copy move in both laps to get past both of them.
But it worked for him though.
Did you?
And Anders looks very, very fast.
He's got the track craft, and he rides Poole very well. He's really took a step up this year in both leagues, and Dan just off the line a touch there. To be fair, it was a risk. If Dan goes down there, then Anders is probably in a bit of trouble, but there's a bit of, there's a level of respect between them. Dan knows he won't clean him out or anything.
For sure.
And we're on to heat number 8. Gate 1 in yellow is Freddie Hodder, coming in as a replacement for Max Perry. Gate 2 in blue, William Cairns. Gate 3 in white, yet to score, is Daniel Hume. And off the outside in red is Tobias Thompson. Can you give this stream a refresh? Much it keeps blipping off.
Oh well, BSN's had this problem though. Shut up, Dave! BSN's had this problem though the past couple of meetings. It's just sort of like glitched a little bit.
It's the hot weather, innit? It's killing BSN. And we're watching the Ouijas again on Friday on BSN.
How lucky are we?
Will Cairns comes up against Freddie Hodder, who, to be fair, had gated really, really well in his last one. He did jump off it looking for an exclusion, but yeah, he gated well, so it'd be interesting to see how Cairns he does here.
Tapes drives them for heat number 8. I tell you what, Cairns is gated again. Cairns is a very, very good gator here, and the two Glasgow boys there in second and third. Tobias Thompson now just squeezes himself past Freddie Odder, and he's got Daniel Hume in his sights, and Daniel Hume, by his own standards, has had a very, very poor night tonight, but what a debut night here for Will Cairns at the minute. It's going to be going for 2 race wins here out of 3, and that's not a bad night, as the Meatloaf once said. 2 out of 3 ain't bad, and yeah, Daniel Hume's riding a very much more impressive ride here in the second place position, and to be fair, Freddie Odder's not a million miles off Tobias Thompson towards the rear of the field here, and to be honest, looking at this camera angle, the big battle is now for that 3rd place. I think Daniel's, or Bob, is known to his mates, is settled there in second. Tobias goes wide. Freddie just couldn't quite get the speed to get himself quite underneath Tobias Thompson there, but a very, very, very solid win there for William Cairns.
It's close over the line now, but I think Tobias Thompson's just held on. I don't think I've saw Tobias Thompson look this bad for a long time.
I don't think I've seen him ride this bad since his Birmingham days in 2019.
He looks awful. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's the last time we see him tonight and give Cairnsy the extra race.
Cairnsy looks happy with that.
Doesn't he? Good ride from him. He's gated like a trooper, isn't he? The result of Heat 8 was a win for the rider in blue, William Cairns, with a race winning time of 62.46. Second in white, Daniel Hume, and third in red, Tobias Thompson. 4-2 to Poole makes the progressive scores 32 points to 16 on the night. And the aggregate score, when BSN knock this off, is 79.59. William Cairns is running back. Has he got 2 on the spin or something? Oh no, he's just going to give some advice. What a gate from William Cairns.
That was a beautiful gate, that wasn't it? Proper beautiful.
He lifted as well and still pulled away. Track looks a little bit dry. It's extremely slick on the inside.
Again, this sort of hot spell that we're having is the worst for track preparation. You can't get enough moisture into it at all.
Barker said this at Birmingham the other night in his little interview. He said it's almost too sunny and the weather's almost too perfect for speedway.
Yeah,
Chris Harris is a tactical substitute in this one.
Justice for Freddie Odder.
Number 9, Chris Harris comes in yellow as a tactical substitute for Freddie Hodder. The full lineup: Gate 1 in white is Carl Hereth. Gate 2 in blue, Zach Cook. Gate 3 in yellow, the tactical substitute Chris Harris. And off the outside in red is Louis Kerr. We've had some new faces in our chat tonight. If you're in the chat, say hello, put a comment in or a question or anything, and we can have a little discussion about it in track grades. This heat, according to BSN stats, has been predominantly 5-1s to Poole. If they're going to get one here, they're going to have to work for it. This is a strong pairing for the Glasgow team.
But it is. And let's be honest here, Lewis Kerr and Zach Cook, although they're doing alright, they're probably what you would call the weak link pairing here for the Pirates.
As a pairing, yeah. But then that warning's lingering over Bomber's head as well.
But it is. Good to see Lewis Kerr having a decent meeting.
Started out quite tough for him at Poole, didn't it? And he was having mechanical issues all over the place.
He was, and a lot of the Poole faithful wanted him out. Start Marshall now walks away for heat number 9. Takes fly. That was a bit of a nibble there for Lewis Kerr, and Zach Cook's got to the front now as well. And it is the Pirates. It's the Pirates that are on that 5-1 again. Bomber now looking to come around the outside of Zach Cook. Zach Cook blocked that perfectly, and Lewis Kerr's out in front. Now, what could Chris Harris do? He's going wide again. Zach Cook's blocking Chris Harris coming round here. This is beautiful to watch when you're not a Ouija's fan. Sorry, Alan McNally, if you're still in the chat. As we come into the next lap now, and Lewis Kerr's away and gone, and he really could do with looking after his teammate in second, because Chris Harris is trying absolutely everything to get around and to get out of Zach Cook. We've got one lap left to go. Can Zach just hold on for another lap? This is a brilliantly defended race here from Zach Cook. He's almost raced the perfect race here for second position. And fair play to Zach Cook. That was a brilliant race.
What a ride from Zach Cook. Lewis Kerr got away with the roller there. He's very lucky, but what a ride from Zach Cook to repel everything that Bomber threw at him, and he literally did throw everything at him.
He even threw the kitchen sink at that.
He threw the entire kitchen, not just the sink.
Did.
And that sums up Glasgow's night, I think. Lewis Kerr does get away with the roller, there's no doubt about that. But then Zach had made a really good start, so it would have almost been double jeopardy if that had been stopped. The result of heat number 9 was a win for the rider in red. Lewis Kerr winning time 61.28. Second in blue, Zach Cook. Third in yellow, Chris Harris 5-1 Poole. 37 points to 17, the progressive score. And the aggregate point is all but wrapped up as if it was ever in any doubt anyway, but 84 points to 60 on aggregate. Will Cairns is really making himself part of this team already, and Louis definitely rolling. You can't really see it from there, you can from the side on. But Zach makes a brilliant start as well, so it would have been double jeopardy if that had been stopped.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that was a decent gate that from Louis, and again, a beautiful ride from Zach.
Bomber was quick as Zach knew he was going to come and try and throw it around him, so Zach just kisses that dirt, leaves Bomber no room to get past, slows him down. Carlisle was never in the race.
No.
But a fantastic, and then Bomber gets a little bit out of shape. Zach's just got his wheel in that dirt and it's dragging him around, and then just starts to edge away from Bomber. He rode 2 really good defensive laps, and then Louis had moved away enough for Zach to just ride his own race. Thought Bomber might have done him here. Zach saw it coming and leaned all over him. Fantastic, right? And if you want to see an art of defensive riding and how to do it, watch that race.
100%.
And to be fair to Bomber, you know he's not going to wipe you out unnecessarily as well. Like, he's not going to deliberately throw the bike at you and clean you up. So it does help when you've got somebody that you can, trust behind you.
100%.
I'm really surprised to see Tobias Thompson keep his spot here. I wouldn't have left him in, to be honest. He's been crap tonight.
He's not been great, has he?
He's not. Gate 3 is still the favoured one, and Dan Thompson's off that. Can he get his first win of the night? Joe Thompson's done well. 2 paid 3 from 2 rides.
He's not done too bad, really, has he?
He ain't done the worst. To be fair, that's about on par with what Flinty would have done. Leon's been flying in the top league, but he's not been great for Glasgow, it must be said.
Yeah, it's not been ideal, has it?
Heat number 10, gate 1 in yellow, Joe Thompson. Gate 2 in blue, Tobias Thompson, not to be confused. Gate 3 in white, Dan Thompson, all the Thompsons in this one. And off the outside, still on a warning, in red, Richard Lawson. At least he's not called Thompson as well.
The Thompson boys with their long-lost cousin.
We've got the Thompson boys and the Danish Thompson and Lawson.
Richard Lawson.
A lot of sons going on here.
Richard Lawson's just
there.
He's just there for a bit of fun. So they see it. Start Marshall Watts away then for race number 10. It's a decent start there for Dan Thompson there out in front now. What could Richard Lawson do? Lawson goes wide, round the outside of the lot like a knife going through hot butter. He didn't need a second invitation. Says thanks very much, Dan Prowl. I'll take that. And Dan Thompson's there in second place. Tobias Thompson in third. Joe's at fourth. I'm going to stop saying Thompson now because I'm getting an headache from the word Thompson.
Just call him Dan, Joe and Toby. Call it simple.
But to be honest, there's not really a lot happening. Dan's there in second. Toby's there in third. Joe's trying to put a bit of pressure on Toby, but it's not happening. Richard Lawson, the other one in the race, is about 4 million miles ahead. And yeah, Richard Lawson could well be on his way to Leicester. The speed he's going at the minute. He'll turn up at Leicester within the next hour and be like, "Hello, have I arrived a little bit early?"
And as we
Oh, and
know,
that's a
Richard Lawson doesn't arrive at any track early.
no, he does not.
Good start from Toby, to be fair, to take care of Joe on the first turn, and Dan made a good start, but Richard Lawson just got his wheel in the dirt and went straight round him like a knife through butter, and it was as easy as that then. And Richard Lawson's still unbeaten, and to be fair, he's not added all his own way from the starts, but he's got some pace out on the track when he's out there. Heat 10 was won by the rider in red, Richard Lawson, with a winning time of 61.65, second in white, Dan Thompson, and third in blue, Tobias Thompson. No donuts tonight.
No, I've got to settle for cake instead, Mush.
Oh, I've got some chocolate donuts from Asda this morning. I bet they're melted though. I need to go and put them in the freezer or something. Dan makes the best of the start here.
Dan made a beautiful start then, and to be fair, it was a bit messy with Joe and Toby, but Dan made the perfect start there. Richard just went right in the dirt. Thank you very much, pal. I'll see you later, and he was gone.
Yeah, it was a smart ride from Lawson. Got his wheel in that dirt and he dragged him round nicely, and he was in a different postcode by the end of the first lap.
And watching this Poole team now, I'm dreading them coming to Scunny in a fortnight.
Yeah, William Cairns seems to have steadied the ship a bit, doesn't he? And we're on with heat 11. Aggregate's sewn up. The meeting on the night's sewn up. It's just how many points are Poole going to hit now? They could hit 60 riding like this, to be honest.
If Glasgow get 5 ones in the rest of the meeting, Poole still win 46-44.
It's been a really good first half performance from the Pirates, and this is what they've been looking for, because they've not been that feared for. Look at that blue groove, man.
We all like a good blue groove.
We do. Can Anders Rowe keep his maximum alive? We'll find out now. Gate 1 in red is Anders Rowe. Gate 2 in white, Chris Harris, who was on the wrong end of a 5-1 last time out. Gate 3 in blue is Paul Stark. And off the outside in yellow, Daniel Hume, who looked a lot better in his last race. To be fair, been an interesting battle of the two off the outside and an interesting battle off the two off the inside. Is this the pairing that won the pairs for Glasgow a couple of seasons ago? Last season? Or the raced in the pairs for Glasgow. I don't know if they won it, but the raced in the pairs.
The raced in the pairs a few years ago. When Glasgow won the pairs, I'm sure
it was Basso and Bomber.
It was Basso and Bomber.
Yeah, this was the Glasgow pairing, Anders Rowe and Bomber, the raced in it last year. Was it when Redcar won it?
Yes. So, heat number 11, we'll just zoom in on Danion's eyes. He looks very concentrated. As the tapes rise, away we go. It's a very good start there from Chris Harris in the white helmet colour. And Daniel Hume there made a terrible gate and he's at the back. He's getting beat by Paul Stark. And don't forget, Dill, you're still 3-0 up on Paul Stark at the minute. Bomber's still leading. Anders is trying everything in second, but he just hasn't got the speed to match Bomber at the current point of time. And now the battle's on for third place. Daniel Hume's going wide. Can he get round the outside of Paul Stark? He's not a million miles off. Paul Stark just gets his back wheel in the dirt. And now Hume again round the outside. He's done him. Now what, could Paul Stark repay that compliment, or can he not? Who knows? We'll soon find out. This is a decent race, this at Poole. We've got one lap left to go, and Chris Harris is away and gone. He's on his way to Leicester as well. He's that far ahead. Stream's gone, BSN, if you're listening, pals. Anders Rowe's there in second place, and Daniel gets third.
Paul Stark is crap, isn't he? Really, really crap.
Yeah, Poole disposed of Darryl Richins
to keep this. That should be his night done. If I was mid ditch, I'd be like, go and stick your bike away and Mush Cairns, you can have your last one. You're shit, mate.
43.
Heat 11 was won by the rider in white Chris Harris with a winning time of 61.06, second in red his first defeat of the night, Anders Rowe, and third in yellow Daniel Hume. I think that's Glasgow's first heat advantage of the meeting. And this track needs some work doing to, especially that inside, and it definitely needs some water. The
She's slick.
the M6 has got more grip on it than this. Bomber, not known for his gating, absolutely blinds that trap. And to be fair, Starkey gates really well. It's after the first turn where he's crap. Anders does him no favours there to try and get through. Starkey and Anders spend the first first lap racing each other, but then Starkey just goes, I've sod it. I'll go and be shit then. And he is. He really, really is. And for all the good Will Cairns is doing, Paul Stark after Heat 2 has done sod all.
Done out.
He's crap in it. It was a surprise signing when it was made, but it's even more surprising the fact he's kept his job over Darrell.
Unless maybe it's one of them where they've put their arm round him, said, "Look, we know you're a bit crap, pal, but you're here for the season if you want the job."
I mean, I wouldn't. And he got tailed off by Danyon as well after he'd passed him.
Another lap and Daniel probably would have got
He
second.
could have, yeah, he was definitely coming on strong. We're on the interval now. Shall we have a quick breather for the mini?
Go on then.
We're back.
We're back, people. Sorry for the longer break. We was discussing future plans.
We're on with Heat 12. The riders are out. The track looks nice. Lewis Kerr gate 1. Freddie Hodder gate 2, I think.
That's
Gate
what's in the
3.
programme.
William Cairns gate 4. Dan Thompson.
Takes the eyes away. We go to a very good start there for Lewis Kerr. And Willie Cairns is at the back at the minute. This isn't like Willie Cairns, and Dan Thompson's got himself around Lewis Kerr to get himself into the first place position, and now we've done a bit of work on the track. William Cairns was struggling, but that was a beautiful move to get up the inside there of Freddie Hodder. I think it's Freddie Hodder anyway.
Yeah, I think it is.
But yeah, a decent move there from William there to get himself into second place. Dan Thompson looks like he's about to take his first race win of the evening. Lewis Kerr doesn't look like challenging Dan, to be fair, and Freddie Hodder's still like 200 miles at the back, so it's going to be a 3-3. And if anybody knows how fit we are, Glasgow were finally going to hit that magic number. They took the time, but Dan's a man that gets into the magic number as he comes round. He looks back, he sees he's got a massive lead, and he takes his first win of the night.
I think it was Freddie Hodder, or was that Max Perry?
I'm sure that was Freddie. Max is a bit of a midget.
Max is quite small. We'll find out in a minute. But for that aggregate number of Glasgow, she's a bit dusty though. It was Freddie Hodder. She's very dusty actually, and after a track grade just, I wouldn't have expected that much dust to be coming off. The result of heat number 12 was a win for the rider in white. Dan Thompson winning time 62.87. Second in red, Lewis Kerr, and third in blue, William Cairns. Points divided 3 apiece. 46 points to... Who's doing donuts? Oh, William Cairns has robbed Tobias Thompson's thing. Uh-oh. William Cairns comes round and bombs a load of donuts. I wouldn't do that much if I were you. I'd get ready to come in for Starkey in 14 because he's crap. The progressive score 46 points to 26. Good start from Dan off 4. Good start from Louis off the inside as well, but he drifts way too wide. Nothing out there after the track grade. Dan Thompson straight through like a hot knife through butter, and it was as easy as that. Smart ride from Cairns, who missed the gate for the first time tonight. Finds that little bit of grip. Hodder locks up. Cairns goes, thank you very much. Here we come. Straight underneath him.
That was that. Right. Do you want a fact?
Oh, I like a fact.
A fact on how shit both Glasgow's reserves are.
They've scored 1 point between them from 5 rides.
Both of them scores together as being outscored by Paul Stark.
Yeah, the reserves are the weak link in this Glasgow. It's no good having a top 5 like they've got when your reserves are crap.
100%.
An interesting comment on the Speedway updates thread. Did Poole get rid of the wrong reserve? It's a really interesting... I think they did. You think they did?
Yeah. 100%. I think 90% of Poole supporters would probably agree to that.
Yeah, I think you're right, to be honest. Yeah, I think they got rid of the wrong reserve. Anders Rowe goes off gate 4 this time. The track seems to have changed a little bit, and it's caught the home riders out in that one anyway. Heat 13, gate 1 in white on a warning. Chris Harris, gate 2 in red, also on a warning. Richard Lawson, both on 9 points each, but Bombers had one more ride. Gate 3 in yellow, Carl Howarth, who's been underwhelming, I think it's fair to say, and off the outside in blue. Dropped just the 1 point this evening so far. Anders Rowe. I don't think that's harsh on Kyle saying he's been underwhelming. You'd have expected more than 4.
Yeah, 100%. It's not even a big Heat 13. Poole are 20 points ahead and have wrapped the meeting up.
You've got a point. We'll have a look at the gate stats after this. It makes some interesting reading, but if Chris Harris is going to win looking at these numbers, he's going to have to do it the bloody hard way.
Is Chris Harris going to win against the maximum man? That is the question.
It's an interesting one, and the 2 riders off the inside, neither of them can afford even the merest suggestion of a nibble.
So the start master walks away for heat number 13. It's an even start, but Chris Harris has got there first. And a ruthless move from
Ooh!
Kyle Harris, but Richard Lawson up the inside of Chris Harris, and now Harris back up the inside of Richard Lawson. This is a cracking race already, and now what can Lawson do as he comes up the inside of Harris? Wow!
Ooh!
Harris back up the inside of Richard Lawson. This is cracking stuff, and now Lawson back up the inside. This is something special, Les. You don't see this many places at all. And now Richard Lawson's got a little bit of a lead over Chris Harris and Kyle Howard, but Harris now going towards the outside, and he's just gone backwards now, and he looks down at his motorcycle and thinks, why are you not beating Richard Lawson? And now Lawson makes a slight mistake over there on that fourth bend, and to be fair now, the blue groove's coming back. Richard Lawson, he's out there, he's in front, he's having a bit of fun, and well, that was something special. What a ride for Richard Lawson.
What a race between Bomber and Lawson. Hopefully there's an handshake between the two. It was good, hard but fair racing, to be honest. Hopefully there's a little bit of an handshake between the two. Lawson acknowledges Bomber. Bomber, I don't think he's coming round though. And you can do that with Lawson and Bomber. Neither are dirty riders. They'll throw everything at each other, but they're fair as well. And that was a really good, fair but hard race, and smart ride from Lawson as well, who takes the fourth checkered flag of his evening with a winning time of 62.24, second in white Chris Harris and third in yellow Carl Howarth. 3 apiece, 49.29 the progressive score. I want to see that back. That was a brilliant 2 laps.
Oh, it was amazing, wasn't it?
Bomber makes the start. Lawson snakes almost. He does, yeah, snakes out the start. Bomber's there. Then Lawson straight over the inside. Comes up the inside. Bomber reads it and cuts back.
Oh, it was just poetry in motion.
Bomber
And
goes
yet,
wide. Lawson cuts back. Got close there. Fair. Bomber reads that. Cuts back. Tries to send Lawson wide, so it goes in mid-track, comes straight through the middle of both the Glasgow boys, and then stamps his authority on it from there. Brilliant first lap and a half, that.
speedway tracks look empty half the time. Show them that every week before. Maybe.
Roger Stevens, you just made me deaf with your excitement. Greetings from Canada. To be fair, that was a brilliant first lap and a bit.
That was beautiful.
That was really.
It's
really
nice to know D&D Media's gone worldwide.
We're at the tapes for 8:14, and Paul Stark keeps his place. Don't know how. Let's hope it's his last ride as a pirate, eh? Gate 1 in blue, Paul Stark. Gate 2 in white, Joe Thompson. Gate 3 in red, Zach Cook. And off the outside in yellow, it's been a long time since he's been out. He's Max Perry. 10 races since we last saw Max Perry in Heat 4.
It's a while, that.
And yeah, it's long old time, innit, that? That was a very good race. Saying the inside is as slick as it is, they found something from somewhere, and that was a very good race.
It was. It was a poetry in motion, as some may say. So as you said, is this Heat 14 Paul's way of saying, go and have your farewell race, Mr. Stark, because you're crap?
They should have kept double Richings, but that's a different argument for a different day. His poor performance won't be as highlighted in this one because of the result.
No.
But that's because everyone else has dug him out of the SH1T.
Basically, the Star Marshal walks away for Heat 14, and Stark has got there. He won't stay there, but he's got there. As Paul Stark has the lead. Joe Thompson's there in second place. Zach Cook there in the third place, and Paul Stark's extending his lead over Joe Thompson and Zach now. And a good defensive ride from Joe to keep Zach behind him, but now the neck and neckers will go down the back straight. Joe just about has the lead. What can Zach Cook do now? Can Zach Cook come up the inside of Joe? Max Perry's like a few bike lengths behind Zach Cook now, to be honest. And Joe's now was pulling a bit of a lead over Zach. Zach's managed to pull it back. He twisted his throttle thingy, and it made his bicycle go fast. We've got one lap left to go. I can't believe we're about to see Paul start with a race here in 2025. He's a million miles ahead, and this, if Joe Thompson manages to keep this second place, it would have been the most defensive rider of his life.
He did well there, to be fair. Starkey made a gate. There wasn't a lot of speed on him. With all due respect to Joe, there are harder opposition. Even Starkey thinks, like, what's going on? Like, how can I do that there and, not do what I should be doing in other races? He looks bewildered. He does good second place for Joe, smart ride, and to be fair, that's around about what Flinty would have scored. Starkey's almost got his hand up as if to sort of I don't know. But Poole fans have been asking questions, and in his mind, he's answered them. It was a Heat 14 win for Poole start with a time of 63.04. Second in white, Joe Thompson, and third in red, Zach Cook makes that's a 4-2 to Poole, and it's 53 points to 31 on aggregate. Good start from Starkey, only the second race winner of the night off gate 1. I thought Joe was going to do it, but Starkey sends him to no man's land. Max Perry's all out of shape in the first turn. That was the end of his race.
Basically, yeah.
But a smart ride and Joe is starting to mature. He's starting to show that potential that Dan started to show last year. Joe's showing it in glimpses, particularly at this level. Be interested
100%.
to see who's in the poll for the rider of the night. I mean, it's
got
to be William Cairns. It's got to be. To score 8+1 from 4 rides on debut. I know these are not the most difficult reserves he'll come up against, but he's beat some really good riders along the way.
Rider of the night. Oh my God.
And Poole at 100 points on aggregate.
All 4 of these riders are British.
Dan Thompson, Richard Lawson, William Cairns, and Bomber.
You guessed all 4 in one go.
And I ain't even looking. My phone's got the YouTube comments open.
Fair enough.
We've still got 12 viewers. I told you this 2 litres of water would be nearly gone by the end of this watch along.
Did mush? But you did.
Shall we have a quick run through of our little advertisement stuff while we wait for the line-up for 15? First of all, the advert of people we're working with and how people can work with us.
Yeah, 100%. We want to thank everybody that's working with us. Obviously, we've got the Piper Boys, we've got Declan Kennedy, Cy, Jake at Scunny, Ben Barker, Connor King. All great people to work with, and obviously we want to work with more people. So if you're interested in working with us, drop us a message on our page at D&D Media on Facebook. Drop us an email, dndmediaspeedway@gmail.com, or just message one of us privately, and we can sort something out. That's not a problem. And we come under very good recommendation from the Pipers.
Yeah. They were quite misunderstood in Speedway, it's fair to say, and they've been good as gold with us.
I think something tells me Max James probably isn't going to take us up on the offer.
Ah, well. Excuse me if I don't lose any sleep over that.
I mean, I'm not either, to be honest, but...
Who do you reckon we see in 15? Does Lawson go for the full 5 max?
Yeah.
Does Cairns get another ride? I'd expect to see Bomber and Dan in for Glasgow, although I could maybe make an argument for Joe. I don't think he's been a bad guest. A heat advantage to Glasgow is not going to make a difference in the grand scheme of things. The aggregate's gone, the result's gone.
Give Max Perry another run out.
I don't think it'll be Carl Eworth. He's not been fantastic.
He's not had the night that.
It's not Cairns. He's running around the track high-fiving all the fans. He's got so much energy. I want to be his age again. I'd love to go back to being 16.
I bet.
And he's a breath of fresh air. He's quite level-headed at the moment, and hopefully he stays level-headed as well. And Him and Cooper, British International Speedway, has a very bright future.
100%. Oh, bloody hell.
Is your dad
Shut
trying
up,
to watch
Dave, you
it?
didn't hear that. Nah, it's because I logged in on my mobile phone for the ride with him.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Cairns has just gone high-fived everybody. He looks knackered now.
He's ready for his bed.
And they're going to love him here.
And he's carrying on.
He's still going. He'll go all the way back round to the pits now. He's taking pictures with people. That he's high-fiving a little kid. They're really going to love him, and I hope he ain't this good for Sheffield tomorrow night. There was a Birmingham fan, I won't lie to you. But I would have liked to have seen him in 15. I think he's earned it. And extra laps on his own circuit, his new home circuit as well. But they've waited for 4 months to get this this debut in place. The kid asked him for a picture. He stopped off to take said picture with the kid. To be fair, he's knackered now. He's done it. To be fair, he's got 3/4 of track further than me or you would have, though.
I mean, fair play for him for running all this. I can't even run
God.
it. I'm knackered watching
That's
him.
knackered me out watching him run around the entire track. Well, nearly stacked it. Don't injure yourself.
Really?
Crying out loud.
Of course, Greg Blair has to get himself in there.
He's just a big fanboy, isn't he, at heart? One of the
Yeah.
fans have just asked if they can take a picture of him, not with him. Oh, hang on. She's taking it strange ways. So that's Speedway K-League. I think it might be a...
Oh, probably. Come on, pal, you're nearly there. Nearly there.
Even the
tell you
track staff
what.
are getting in.
Tell you what,
Ben
right.
Duffo let us down.
Tell you what, right? Fair play to him.
Richard Lawson's in red game for the full maximum. Nearly wipes out William Cairns. Richard Lawson is in red because we can see him coming out of the pits, going for the full 5. He will be partnered, but look at the state of the inside of that track. I'd probably rather be riding around the dog track that Cairns has just ran round, to be honest.
Cairns was just testing it for the next race.
Going in yellow is Carl Howarth. I don't know how Dan Thompson's not in, I'll be honest. I don't know how Kyle Howarth's got in. Cairns is running to the centre green now. Chris Harris is in white, and I'd imagine it's going to be Zach Cook in yellow, probably. Or Louis Kerr, maybe.
Maybe.
Cairns is burnt, so it's Lewis Kerr in blue. Cairns has burnt some weight off that, and Glasgow have opted for 1 and 3. So it's the exact same riders off the inside 3 gates as Heat 13. Gate 1 in white, Chris Harris. Gate 2 in red, Richard Lawson. Gate 3 in yellow, Carl Howarth. And off the outside in blue, Lewis Kerr.
That it is. We're nearly done and dusted, folks. Thank you for sticking with us. But I tell you something now. Fair play to young Willie Cairns there. If he missed somebody with an high five, he
was going back.
He made sure he stopped and gave him an high five. That's class. That. He certainly made his mark over the Pirates supporters as the tapes fly up for 8:15. Can Richard Lawson complete his max? Well, if races were run by the first bend, he would have done. He absolutely blitzed that, and the 2 Tigers boys there in second and third with Lewis Kerr trying absolutely everything now to get round the outside of him, and Lewis Kerr round the outside there of Chris Harris. Great move for Lewis Kerr, and he's got Kyle Howarth now in his sights. But Chris Harris has also got Lewis Kerr in his sights, and now Chris going up the inside there of Lewis Kerr. Can he make it stick? Not quite. Kerr's going round the outside now. He wants to get past Kyle Howarth. He's determined to get past Kyle Howarth. But Chris Harris is determined to get round Lewis Kerr as well. This is a fantastic race. And now, to be fair, Chris Harris has given up at the back. We've got one lap left to go, and now, if anything, Kyle Howarth is putting the pressure on Richard Lawson, which is not something you get many riders doing here at Poole. As they come round turns 3 and 4 for the final time, then Kyle goes wide, Richard goes wide of Kyle his side, and Richard completes a full maximum.
Good ride from Louis Kerr that he literally bombered Bomber.
He did. That was almost a perfect ride.
And fair play to Kyle after having a difficult evening. Turned up, finished on 7 and 1 in 15. Looked more competitive there, to be honest, but that was all done from the gate for Lawson, and he completes his full maximum, full 5 rides, 15 points. Has had to work for it. Some will argue he got lucky with the Freddie Hodder thing. I think the correct decision was made, so do you. But he's looked impeccable, and it was a win for the rider in red, Richard Lawson, with a time of 62.48. Second in yellow, Carl Howarth, and third in blue, Louis Kerr. Poole finish on at 57 points, Glasgow 33 points, and we'll have a quick look at the individual scorers in a moment. Do you want me to quickly run through Poole whilst you
just worked all up? Yeah, you can do.
So Richard Lawson goes through the card, 5 rides, 15 points. Tobias Thompson scores 4 points. Louis Kerr 11 points. Zach Cook 6 plus 3. Anders Rowe 8. Paul Stark 5 plus 1. Started with a paid win, finished with a win as well. And William Cairns on debut scores 8 plus 1.
And for the Glasgow Tigers, Chris Harris top scored with 11, Daniel Hume scored 3, Dan Thompson 7, Joe Thompson on a bonus, Kyle Howarth 7 on a bonus, Freddie Hodder 1, Max Perry failed to score.
A very quick look over at the gates. At the death, considering gate 2 was the slowest at the start, the end gates, that's gate 1 won 2 races, gate 2 won 5, gate 3 won 4, and gate 4 won 4.
So a fairly even spread then, really, overall.
Even spread other than gate 1, yeah. And there was some good racing. It was slick, it was difficult, but there was some good racing.
It got better as the meeting went on, didn't it?
Yeah, for sure. And we've had some extra reach tonight. We've had some people in the comments that we've not seen around before. It was nice to have some new faces and some chit chat in the comments as well to use in the track grades. So hopefully we can keep some of these people. If you haven't already subscribed, we do these quite regularly to all sorts of different teams. Although there's usually an Oxford one in or around.
What, like that's coming up next on Friday?
Yeah, Friday night we've got Glasgow versus Oxford, which is on BSN. Saturday night we've got Plymouth versus Scunthorpe, which is on Plymouth TV. Then I think we've got a week off after that. So
by the sounds of things, we will have, but people that know us know we can't go a week without doing these. So we'll probably have one within the week. Keep an eye on our social media, on our Tips to Flag podcast page. News about the podcast coming very, very soon.
And to be fair, if you've got a team you support and you're in the comments and you want to hear a meeting of theirs, if they're away or if you're not there, drop us a message and we'll see what we can do. There's only certain days we can do better than and easier than others, but the worst we can say is no. But we try to cover every team at least sort of once or twice. So.
Is this Kenzie coming back round again?
Is he doing another lap of honour?
There's a rider currently walking round. I'm not sure who it is. Oh, he's going straight through to the changing rooms.
The changing rooms are down there, aren't they? So decent crowd, and they've been thoroughly entertained. Right, I'll let you wrap us up for tonight, and we'll be back on Friday.
So, Dan Thompson's one rider of the night. Don't know how it was William Cairns, but it is what it is. He's been doing, I've been Dan. That was Poole versus the Ouijas. We'll see you on Friday when we see the Ouijas again against Oxford.